I get those goosebumps every time.
I just have to get the big fella off the bench.
Could this be their last chance now? In it comes, Monster to the front. He scored! Harry Monster scored!
I'm way too numb, yeah. It's way too numb, yeah. I get those goosebumps every time. I need that line to throw that to the side, I get those goosebumps every time, yeah. When you're not around, when you throw that to the side, I get those goosebumps every time, yeah. 713 through the 281, yeah, I'm riding. Why they on me? Why they on me? I'm flying. I'm slipping low-key. I'm slipping low-key and high, yeah. I get those goosebumps every time you come around, yeah. You ease my mind, you make everything feel fine. Worry about those comments, I'm way too numb, yeah. It's way too dumb, yeah. I get those goosebumps every time. I need the hype.
Good evening, everybody. Hope you're all well. We're back for another reaction show, and not a good reaction. There'll be no dancing on the streets with this one. But first, before I even say hello to you, Chris, I want 2 likes for this one because no one is going to like this one because it was a defeat. But Chris, how are you?
Deflated, disappointed, but weirdly, and I think I said this to you, Daz, didn't I, after the match? Weirdly, not that angry, and I thought I would be. And I'll go into the reasons why. But yeah, obviously disappointed, naturally, and especially being from where I'm from. That won't surprise many people that I'm disappointed to lose to Everton. But yeah, other than that, mate, I'm good. Busy day in work. But now the weekend is upon us, so I'm in a very good mood. But how are you, mate?
It's Friday. It's Friday. You know, there was a song about that at one point in time, but we won't go there. No, I'm good. I'm delighted it's Friday. It's the weekend. That's another step closer towards Christmas. But I think the one thing worse than watching that match on the TV would be being at that match, Chris. And you were that soldier at the match. There's Mike from the Unholy Trinity as well, who was on away days. But, you know, I think we should just start with that. Chris, you were at the game. What was it like to be there?
I mean, I'll be honest, Daz, that first half, I know you'll probably go into all the ins and outs of what happened during the game. But yeah, that was a dreadful first half. It really was, especially being there live. You know, I think Everton were nervous. I think we were starting to get a bit nervous because we were thinking, hang on, is this one of these games where we're not going to turn up? But yeah, it was a funny atmosphere, and obviously Everton did the whole Premier League corrupt thing before the
green cards.
Yeah, the green cards. Yeah, so we seen all that. I was in the lower Bullens, so that section was literally right to my left, and I was only 4 rows from the front, so I had a really good ticket, and I sat behind Dougie Morris, who's a big fan of the show. So shout out to you, Dougie. It was great to see you, mate, and catch up and finally meet you in person. But yeah, first half dreadful, Daz. Second half, things certainly picked up. I was pleased with the way we started the first half. You know, the first 5 or 10 minutes, and you know the confidence really grew after the lads had gone into Eddie at half time and come out. But unfortunately, the atmosphere quickly turned sour, and again, we'll go into why. But yeah, by the end of the game, the place was rocking for all the wrong reasons, unfortunately. But yeah, it was a cold night, it was a disappointing night, and it was a long journey home in the end. So yeah,
and you only lived down the road.
I lived down the road,
more or less.
Yeah.
But did they bring the fireworks actually?
No. Well, I didn't hear any anyway. But no, and yeah. I didn't get close enough to Goodison. I didn't get close enough to Goodison before the game to see any of the blue smoke and all that. I didn't see any of that because I think I arrived at the stadium. I think it was about 20 past 7. But I imagine by then everyone was getting in, so I didn't see any of the the blue smoke and all the drama. I didn't see any of that.
No, I didn't see any of that either because I was getting my little boy to bed, and I arrived as the ball was about to be kicked off, so in front of my TV. So let's get into it. So this was the Newcastle team. So unchanged apart from no Pope, obviously, and Dubravka stepped up in there in goal. No real surprise there, Chris.
No, not really. I mean, to be quite honest, after I saw the Everton lineup, I was pleased with our lineup. I mean, we all called this lineup and we hoped it would be this. And I know there was a few rumours, wasn't there, that Anthony Gordon might be missing. That's certainly what I heard. You know, there was talk of him getting a knock. And then, you know, to see him in the starting 11, I was delighted. Again, as I've said before, Daz, you know, we all look to the bench these days. And I just seen Dummett, Ritchie, Kraft, Hall, and I was like, right, okay, well, they're the options essentially. So yeah, I mean, I'll be honest, I was really happy with the lineup when I seen it, because that's what I wanted. I wanted to see that 11, and that was the 11 we got. So no complaints from me.
Yeah, no complaints on that front, really. We can't complain. We've no one else to put out. And this is the Everton team as well. We saw enough of them yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we'll touch on a couple of the Everton players later, or I will, certainly from watching them. But yeah, I was very excited as well, because I thought Ashley Young was going to be playing centre mid. But unfortunately he didn't. He played right wing. If only he had played centre mid, I think the game would have been a lot different if he had. It was interesting to see Seamus Coleman back, because I did think that Everton would have been particularly worried with Ashley Young fronting Anthony Gordon. So I can see why they brought Seamus Coleman back. And to be fair, Daz, up until he went off injured, Seamus Coleman was really good. And Anthony Gordon, again, I will touch on it, but Anthony Gordon did not want to get into a battle with him.
No, a great player in his day, actually, Coleman.
Yeah, he was.
I think he was linked to Barcelona one stage in his career.
Bayern, I think it was. I think it was Bayern. I think it was Bayern. Oh, Callum goes on about it all the time.
Yeah.
So, yeah. That's the only reason I know that.
It must be rough in your house. It was only last night. Anyway, let's get into the first half. There's nothing spectacular here in any of these notes. But anyway, Gordon was feeling the love at the early stages. Everton showing early promise. Livramento had a nice run, got a free kick out of it. Trips took the resulting free kick. It was saved. Jump in here, Chris, and anything along the way as well. 18 minutes save from Calvert-Lewin by Dubravka. 25 minutes. Newcastle. It was clear at that stage Newcastle were lacking in invention, and which the tiredness as well was a factor. But 35 minutes. Isak had a header, went down and wide. 39 minutes. Calvert-Lewin, the best chance in the game, really. Calvert-Lewin, free shot, only the keeper to beat, and he put it over the bar. Now, they should have been 1-0 up at that stage.
Mate, like, really, really good point. Yeah, it was funny because I was talking to my brother-in-law about it earlier, and he's a blue, and I was talking to him about it, and he mentioned the Calvert-Lewin chance, and it's funny because when he was watching it on telly and when I was watching it live, we both thought it was offside. And it was only when you watched it back, you were like, "Oh my god, he was well on. He looked offside, both on the telly and live." Because I just thought, "Oh, it's fine." And it was only you saw Calvert-Lewin look straight over to the linesman, and obviously he didn't flag. And Calvert-Lewin knew he'd missed a huge chance, because not only did he miss it, it was like I think he would have got the points if he was playing rugby. The ball literally went up. He really should have done better with that. But again, you know, probably a good job he didn't score, because it could have been an even bigger scoreline. But yeah, massive chance, and I was surprised that he fluffed his lines from 6-7 yards out.
Yeah, exactly. One of the highlights of the moment of the match for me. Joe Linton went full Wolverine and given a nice scrape down the Tarkowski's arm. But he going up telling the ref about it. Interesting. But that took us to half time, 0-0. Then straight into the second half, no changes. Some Everton corners. Dubravka looked a bit shaky from the corners. Pope is better from corners, but Dubravka's better with his feet, really. Then at 58 minutes, Louis Miley shot over the bar. Newcastle were kind of slightly stepping it up at that stage. McNeil then kicked out Dubravka for no reason. No action taken there with that one. Did you see that one bit, Chris? Where he kind of left a foot in on Dubravka.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I didn't think much of it, and in fairness, he was down the other end of the pitch. But it did look like he left a foot in on him. But yeah, I didn't. it wasn't as clear to me, and obviously you don't. That's the thing when you go and watch a live game, isn't it? You don't see the replays. I'm sure I would have felt differently about it if I'd seen it on telly, but no, I didn't see it live. It looked like he'd gone in a bit late, but I didn't. I wasn't screaming for anything. Put it that way.
Yeah, cool. 61 minutes. Gordon rubs the ball and hits it straight at Pickford.
Oh God!
Yeah, he was a bit off. Gordon, like he just kind of was playing. I think it got to him a bit. But what's your thoughts on that? You were there. You would have heard every time he got a touch. The crowd was in his face. But did it get to him?
Oh, 1,000,000% it got to him. 1,000,000%. It wasn't the Anthony Gordon that I've seen, since the start of the season. To me, I think it was a masterclass from Sean Dyche to put Seamus Coleman on the pitch, because there was a lot of respect there. Obviously, Seamus Coleman was his previous captain. He gave him a little, pat on the back as he left the pitch. But to me, and people in the chat, if you think I'm wrong, do tell me. I mean, obviously, you saw it on the telly, the majority of you, I'm assuming. But watching it live, every time Anthony Gordon got the ball, he couldn't wait to give it away. He just kept passing it, or quick pass, looking for 1-2s. I'm not saying he wasn't trying, but it just felt like he didn't want possession, and it almost made me think, some of the Everton players got up to him and gone, "You're getting it," and he's thought, I don't want to get 2-footed, I don't want to get injured. He just didn't look like he wanted the ball, which was weird to me, because Anthony Gordon running at Seamus Coleman is going to cause Seamus Coleman problems, but he just didn't really do it. And he if there was an option on for a pass, he just passed it. And then that opportunity that you're speaking about there with Tarkowski, genuinely, if I think he was playing against anybody but Everton, he'd have scored that. It was as if he got the opportunity, he knew it was a fantastic chance, and all he had to do was put it to the left or the right, and he put it down the middle. He went for power, and really in that position, he's one-on-one. Pickford, as we know, with his little arms, all he had to do was just put it in the corner. And if he puts it in the corner, one, Pickford might go the wrong way, or two, even if he did go for it, I still don't think he would have saved it. But he hits it straight at him, and you saw it afterwards. He was like that because he knew that was a huge opportunity. How many times are you going to be 12, 15 yards out, and you've got a free shot at goal, and you hit it straight at the goalie? It's really disappointing.
It's one of those nights. 64 minutes. Isak run through ball to Gordon outside the box this time, and he puts the ball over the bar. It was not in the space of 3 or 4 minutes. He had two decent chances there. Some Newcastle corners, but lacking creativity again. Then here it comes. 78 minutes. Trips fucks up. Right, there's no other way of putting it. He loses the ball. McNeil takes that ball and puts it in the back of the net. Goal, 1-0 Everton. But I'm not blaming Trips of everything he's done for us this season and the season before that. I'm not blaming him, but he was at fault for that. But what's your any thoughts or reaction on that one, Chris?
Yeah, again, I think this is when I said to you at the start of the show, Daz, that I'm not angry. It obviously it's frustrating, it's disappointing, but we can't for me, we can't really be calling out Trips here, because yes, he's made a howl. He come up to the fans at the end, I don't know if you saw it, and he had his hands up like that, as if to say I'm sorry. And it's very unlike him. He's not that type of player, and to do it twice in one match, it's really, really unusual. But again, I can't really go in hard on him, because obviously he's been arguably the best signing that we've made since these new owners have come in. So disappointing, but I'm not gonna start ranting and raving over Kevin Trippier.
No, I agree. Then 81 minutes, header over the bar by Miggy after a bit of a scramble. 85 minutes, Trips fucks up again. Everton take the ball, and Decore finishes 2-0 at this stage. In 85 minutes, it's game over then, really, even though there's more to come. But Anthony, you want to say on that one, Chris?
Again, really shocked and disappointed by the second mistake. What I did want to highlight as well, which I'm sure you all know, I don't think Decore would have scored if Dwight McNeil made contact with that ball. A few of my Everton mates have been saying, it's like it was a great dummy. But they know that he's had a shot and he's completely air shot it, missed the ball. The ball's then fell to Decore, and all Decore's got to do is look up and go, right, where can I put it? Where Dubravka can't get it, and that's exactly what he did. And again, it was a good finish. It was a good finish, but it was very easy for them. And really, anything but a goal there would have been horrendous for Everton. But yeah, just again, very, very annoying is what I'd say.
Yeah. Yeah, 90th minute, Isak had a half chance, and then Lascelles and Miley come off, and Richie and Kraft on. But the torture isn't over yet. 95 minutes, Beto puts the ball in the back of the net, 3-0 through the legs of Dubravka. All in all, that was full time, 3-0. The schedule and fatigue have caught up with Newcastle. We played the same team for is it 4 games in a row or something like that, and it's just caught up on us. And we need players back quick, and hopefully there's someone back for the Spurs game. But Chris, we're not letting you go to any more games. That's the
I know.
The long
I need to
stop.
stop. I need to stop. Yeah. Just by the way, on that Beto goal, I noticed. I'm gonna just quickly pop these up. So the Unholy Trinity Everton podcast, which is Mike. So Mike, thank you for tuning in, mate. Great to see you yesterday. I'm glad I saw you before the game and not after the game. So that was a blessing. And Anthony Gordon was missing. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Anthony Gordon was missing. The wife, she's saying good evening, lads. Currently sat just over there to me. I think she's
good evening, Lisa.
Yeah, I think she's secretly enjoying this. But what I wanted to say was, and again, if Mike's still in the chat, I would be interested to hear it. I want to, all I've heard today is how brilliant, what was it, 29 successful passes before Beto scored. That's all I've heard today, and how brilliant, Everton were, and blah, blah, blah. And I just want to ask Mike, do you think that goal goes in if it wasn't 2-0 and the game was over? Because that's certainly what I'd suggest. Good goal, not knocking it, and Beto did brilliantly to hold Shard off. Who I thought was a little bit weak, if I'm honest. But Beto's he's a unit, he's a big lad, so maybe I shouldn't be that surprised. But yeah, I'd be interested to hear Mike's version of Beto's goal, because according to some people I've spoke to, like, it's one of the goals of the season. So
Garnacho, watch out.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. So yeah, Garnacho could be in trouble. But we'll have to see, I suppose. We'll have to see. And then the Olays as well. We were getting the Olays. I was surprised by that as well. But I think heads have gone down by them. But
I have to say, congratulations to Everton. That lifts them up out of the relegation spots as well after the 10-point deduction. So we will say that as well. But they have to come to St James's Park, so it's not over yet. But that one's gone. Right. I just want a nice little tweet here from George Cook, and think puts everything in perspective. Saw this one this morning. Complete this sentence, Newcastle. Newcastle were poor by their own standards at Goodison. Newcastle are beyond stretched by injuries and suspension. Newcastle have their best team in the club's modern history. None of these are mutually exclusive. They're all true, I'm of the opinion. Happy Friday. So I think, yeah, that tweet from George puts it all into perspective. We lost, but in different circumstances, if we had been fresh and if we had maybe a few bodies as well back, we would have been a different story. But credit where credit's due to Everton as well. They were fighting for their lives there in that one. That's it on the match run through. I found it very, very difficult to try and pick out the match for us in this one. But for me, I'm not even going to bother going through ratings. But for me, I'm going to say Tino Livramento. Again, playing in that left back position, not his right side really. But yeah, I thought he was decent again. He had a few nice little runs, but I'm giving him the Newcastle the match, if anyone really deserves one in that game. How about you, Chris?
Completely agree. For me, Tino Livramento was the standout. There was a few disappointing performances last night. I felt sorry for Alexander Isak. He kept trying to drop deep. Then we put him on the left wing. It wasn't working for him, and I don't blame Alexander Isak for that, because I don't think he had that many chances, as in, to actually do something. He never got the ball. And, when you've got a striker of his ilk up top, for him to not hardly touch the ball or have any opportunities, it's such a waste, because he could have really caused Everton some damage last night, but we just couldn't get the ball to him. And I thought it was interesting as well. And again, I don't know how this come across on telly, Daz, but the amount of times everyone in the crowd was going, just cross it, just cross the ball, and there was a reluctance to cross the ball. I don't know why that was, whether Newcastle were worried about losing possession and getting caught on the counter. I don't know. But it was all very, tippy-tappy, pass and move. There was no just get the ball in the box and, try and cause some problems. So that disappointed me. But yeah, going through the team, thinking about the team, I think you'd have to give it to Tino Livramento, because again, another fantastic performance. Also just to add, by the way, the 3 or 4 people I've spoken to recently about the match last night, they all said, tell you what, that Tino Livramento looks good. So, they're all clearly seeing what we're seeing. My lad Callum, he said, oh, that Tino Livramento, he's a good player. And my brother-in-law as well, he was waxing lyrical about Tino Livramento. We've certainly got a player in our hands, is what I'd say. Yeah. But yeah, it wasn't a very difficult decision, Daz, I've got to be honest.
No, I agree. And Tino, I don't think he comes out of the team now. Even when everyone's back, he needs to stay in the team for me. Just a reminder as well of what's coming up Unloaded. As there might be some questions coming in, Chris, you might have a look there, or comments. But coming up at 9:00, so directly after this show, it's away days. So away days with the Southview. Come on, you Spurs. I said that too convincingly there. Boo. But yeah, we are recharging, hopefully with more than 10% come Sunday at 4:30 for that one. So, but away days, I think it could be Marlon that's on. I'm not 100% sure who's on away days, or maybe it's all three of the lads. But that is coming up at 9:00 tonight. On Sunday. Sunday evening, 8:30, we have the Loaded reaction, and let's hope it's a positive reaction. We need one on Sunday. So yeah, bring that on Sunday evening, and then you do not have to wait too long after that again, because we're back again on Monday night at 9:00, I think this time. Away days with the Milan Weekly Podcast, and all back focused on that Champions League and that final game in the group of death. And then where we will find our final destination. And speaking of final destinations, on the Wednesday at 7:30, we're going to do a watch along for that final game. And of course, with the PSG Dortmund game on at the same time, things can chop and change. So we'll be watching the game, also an eye of what's happening in Dortmund and the impact to our table. So. And anything can happen. We're not going to top the group, but from 2nd, 3rd, or 4th in that group, it's all up to play for, with some either crashing out of Europe altogether or some form of European competition still in the balance. So that is going to be a good one on Wednesday. But forgetting about all that Champions League stuff first, let's focus on the Premier League.
Absolutely.
But I paused for some reason. But that is that what's coming up. Chris, do we have any questions?
I believe we do. Let's have a look. David Cook asks, is it true no inflatable dinosaurs were allowed in the ground last night? Now, when we did the away days with Mike from UHT, the Unholy Trinity podcast, he did say that nobody would be allowed in with no shirts on, and nobody would be allowed in with any inflatables. Now, I did see a few people in the away section who uncovered the coat, and there was a little T-Rex. They did have them, but they were snaffled in, is what I'd say, and I didn't see anybody waving them around or whatever. I'm sure, the T-Rexes would have come out if we'd have scored, or if, we'd have gone 1-0 up or whatever. But I think the moment had gone, particularly when I think it went to 3-0. I think those inflatables were probably swiftly put in the bin as
deflated.
Yes, deflated. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that was to answer that one, David. Les Stapleton says there is a performance-related clause in Hall's loan impacting the obligation to buy. Maybe that's why he's not selected. I mean, Daz, have you read anything about that? I think it was somebody said it was Charlie Bennett who broke that news.
Oh, if Charlie's saying it, must be true. That's the first I've heard of that. But wow. I'm surprised that that, especially when the second goal went in, that Howe didn't just empty the bench, because what's the point? It was gone at that stage. We're not getting anything back. Well, then again, look what happened with what was the defender we had who scored 2 goals in the last minute of the last couple against Everton.
Flavien Lejeune.
Yeah, he wasn't playing like that, but yeah, he came on, and but I couldn't see that happening, and not with the way things have gone that night. But I would empty the bench. But yeah, then on Hall herself, anytime I've seen him, he's done okay. He's done pretty well. So I would be giving him more game time. Maybe it's a case as well with Tino Livramento doing so well in that left back position. It's harder to find a spot for him. But surely you could throw him in with the amount of injuries we have to get him some game time. So
yeah.
So is the idea, the thinking there then that we wouldn't buy him?
I don't know. I mean, I wonder if Eddie and the coaching staff are maybe having some doubts. Who knows? I mean, funnily enough, it actually leads on to another question, which has just come in from David R. Good evening, David. Hope you're well. Is it now time, Daz, to play Tino at right back and Hall at left back? Trips needs a rest. He doesn't make mistakes like that, so the only explanation is that he's burnt out. Doesn't it seem that Howe fancies playing Hall? Or sorry, doesn't seem that Howe fancies playing Hall.
Yeah, I can see what you're saying there, but Spurs, AC Milan, then Fulham after that. It's finding a gap to try that out. And I don't think he's tried that against Spurs or AC Milan. Maybe against Fulham, but there's no easy games in the Premier League either.
It's not.
It's Man City and everyone else is finding out as well.
True.
So it is. I think Trips does need a bit of a break, but I don't think he's going to get one.
No, I agree. I mean, I can totally see where David's coming from. I think if there was a lot more squad depth, that could be the case. But I also think it would send out the wrong message if we were to drop Trippier now, because unless Trippier obviously said, I'm shattered, or and I think Trippier is the type of player who would do that as well. I think if Trippier genuinely didn't think he was fit enough or there was another option, I think he would say to Eddie, listen, just give me a rest, because that wasn't good enough the other night. But I don't think he'll say that. I think he'll come out all guns blazing, and I think he will quickly put that behind him, and then we'll like he could play against Tottenham on Sunday and have a fantastic game. Do you know what I mean? It could just be one of those. I just wanted to add in, Daz. Mike is in the chat. So good evening to you, Mike. As I said before, the game was over at that point. He's talking about the Beto goal. Newcastle clearly half-hearted, except for Gordon when he went at Mikalenko and got sent for an echo. Gaps will always appear late on. Absolutely right. Great strength from Beto. Yeah, do you know what? That's a fair assessment. That it is a fair assessment. It was great strength from Beto, and I think I think that's probably a fair call, I would say. Kath Chandler says the Evertonians were as quiet as mice and sat there all match until the first goal. Yeah, I mean,
they did plenty of booing though, Kath.
Yeah, and they didn't like some of our songs, particularly the Gordon ones, which, by the way, they didn't create, nor did they create the second, both caused by Tripp's sheer exhaustion. They got lucky. I mean, this was kind of what I was arguing with the lads yesterday, saying, I can't moan at the result because it's our own doing. But at the same time, like me lad Callum, he was going, we battered you. And I was like, you didn't batter us. We just gave you 2 goals. You took your chances. And Dwight McNeil's finish was a good finish. It was. And Decore did what he had to do despite, the air shot. And then he had to think quick and place it. So I'm not taking anything away from Everton. And they did deserve the 3 points. But I'm not going to say we got battered because I think that's overstepping the mark a touch.
It must be difficult in your house, Chris.
Mate.
I was seriously pissed, as every Newcastle fan was seriously pissed off. I remember Pete's voice note from this morning saying that was it a nightmare? Yeah, you have to live through it all weekend. Listen to that. I just suppose there's another round of games, so it might move on pretty quick.
Yeah, do you know what? It does. And anybody can beat anyone on the day. And let's not forget, we are playing Premier League football, and each team has, some really good players. So it can happen. And if you gift someone like Dwight McNeil a chance to just run through on goal and have a shot, you're asking for it, really. Yeah. And this is why I'm not too angry over it, because if we played really, really poorly and we were terrible, and I've heard some people saying that we were awful and we were terrible, but for me, I don't think we were. I just don't think we were very good. But equally, I don't think Everton were very good. It was just one of those nights you could just tell wasn't going to go our way, and we could have done so much better. Like, there's loads of little things we could go on for hours talking about it as to what needed to be improved. But I wouldn't say there was a lack of effort. I wouldn't say there was a lack of heart. It's nothing like that. It's just the fact that sometimes things don't fall your way, and little points or opportunities. So the two chances that Trippier gifted Everton were obviously a big factor. The fact that Gordon hit it straight at Pickford, the fact that Calvert-Lewin bombed it over the bar. It's all little things, and they all make a big difference.
Yeah. Butterfly effect on the night, but McNeil, I remember well before the takeover, I thought he was a decent player. He's back when he's back at Burnley, so he can turn it on at times as well. But yeah, sorry, back to any other comments, and I'll bring up the table as well, Chris.
Yeah, get the table up, mate. We can have a look at the table. We are, yeah. Calf Chandler, there you go. Totally agree with you, Chris. Yeah, it's annoying. It's frustrating, Calf, isn't it? And we all do. We're all going to struggle with it, and we're all going to be annoyed and whatever. But sometimes you've just got to crack on. You really have, and just kind of draw a line under it and go, wasn't our day today. I like what the Popple Majors, I don't know, Popple Maggers, I'm not sure how to pronounce that, so apologies if that's wrong. But Trips is so good 99% of the time. There's no way Hal could predict he's going to mess up bad on the night. Trips has to play until he shows otherwise. Completely agree.
Yeah, and before the first mess up, he was doing okay. He wasn't having the greatest game, but he was doing okay. And I think maybe that first one was still in his head, and it just led to the second one then. But okay, we'll move on. We forget about.
You're right, Dad, and it's fine margins, isn't it? Because let's be honest, if Gordon would have scored that goal, totally different game. We could have ended up winning 3 or 4-1. You just don't know, and I think we've just got to draw a line under it and move on, as you say. Let's have a look at this league table.
After this show, we're never speaking about it again. Speaking about this game ever again. No. Right. Let's look at the league table. So we're sitting in 7th spot there, a point behind Man United and a point behind Spurs, who we play on Sunday, and the lead up to that, the match build up, away days at 9:00. Game on Sunday 4:30, reaction show 8:30. But this is where we're sitting. Look at we're 4 points behind Man City, who up till a day or so ago, everyone thought was going to win the league, and they could still win the league. But the sizable gap, there's 10 points between ourselves and Arsenal. And to go back to a point that someone made on a show during the week, were we dark horses for the league? These are the kind of reasons why we don't have the strength and depth yet, and too many injuries and too many games that aren't going to put us in contention this season. Next season, you never know though. So for me, I think we're still fighting out for 4th and 5th spot. That's our target here, as in, because I think it'll be Arsenal, Man City, and Liverpool in the top 3 for me, and we're fighting with Villa, Spurs, Man United, ourselves. But what's your thoughts on the table there, Chris, of where we're sitting?
I mean, I'll be honest, Daz, I'm still reasonably happy with where we are. I'm not concerned because we're still in and amongst it. And if we, like, for example, we said we wanted to try and get, I think I said I wanted minimum 4 points from these next 2 games. And I think we said, yourself or Pete said 6 points. But if we go and beat Tottenham on Sunday, we'll look back at this and go, okay, you know, we're still in the mix. But you know, you look at it, Daz. Well, what 4 points off top four? Like, I'm not panicking. And then we've got that really nice one in December. And as we've seen, Daz, teams are beating each other. Teams are beating each other, and it's still wide open. All I'm now waiting for is the collapse of Liverpool, because they can't continue this run, because they're really not playing very well. So they can't continue this run, and I don't expect them to. So for me, I'm just waiting to see what happens with the rest of the teams. But yeah, I'm not worried in the slightest, I'll be honest.
Yeah, I haven't been looking at Liverpool closely the last few games, but at the start of the season, I was just surprised they were getting players sent off here, there, and everywhere, and they were losing and then coming back and clinching results. And look at it, they've put a nice run together from their point of view. Villa, for me as well, surprise. Well, we identified Villa as having a strong squad, but yeah, they play Arsenal, I think, at the weekend, so that will be interesting there, what happens in that game. Let's hope we can recharge a bit and go at Spurs. But are you, I know we'll come up with one of the comments earlier as well, but are you worried about our away form? Oh, you're on mute.
Sorry, Daz. Sorry. At least I got that one up the way. It's Pete.
Hey, Pete. How's it going?
How are you, mate?
Evening, you okay?
Yeah, very
all
good.
All
very
good.
good. Well, I say very good. I'm not that good. I'm okay. Match aside, I'm okay. But yeah, I think before we move on to Pete, Daz, I'm a little bit concerned about the away form. Not going to lie, but I'm not thinking about it too much, because I do think it's something we can quite easily turn around. Like, I'm not going to dwell on it, and I do expect us to pick up, especially in the new year when we've got the players back as well.
Cool. Pete, do you want to drown your sorrows with us on last night's game? And have you figured out that it wasn't a dream yet, or a nightmare?
I wish it was, mate. I wish it was. I don't know what you guys have said on the show, but I put a tweet after the game, and I was kind of like, maybe a little bit more reserved, but I'm actually fuming. I really am. I'm really annoyed at that performance yesterday. Personally, there are no excuses with injuries. There are no excuses of amount of 90 minutes and all the rest of it for me. They had 5 days rest. They went to PSG, played a full 90 minutes with less days rest. Absolutely turned over Man United with absolute ease. They had 5 days rest after that. Those boys should have been fit and ready to play football, and they didn't turn up. I knew within 10 minutes that Newcastle United were going to put in a similar performance to what they did against Bournemouth. You can tell with Newcastle. For me personally, I can tell with Newcastle when they're at it and when they're not. And within 10 minutes, I could tell that they weren't at it today. And I was worried. And at that point, I was worried. Talk about individual players. Yeah, we didn't turn up collectively. We didn't want it. No intensity. No creativity. Nothing. Our creative players did not turn up. And honestly, there was a massive lack of intensity in our play. The press was half-hearted. We allowed Everton, without doing too much difficult. Look, Everton won 3-0, but they weren't a 3-0 team. I actually thought for long parts of that game, Everton were dreadful. And I was thinking, how the hell are we even drawing this game with them, let alone losing to them? And you can see why they're down there. Yeah, they've got a few points on the board and whatever, but they're not a good team. They are not. And it just makes it harder for me to take that we've lost against a team like that, in my opinion. Look, there were 2 horrendous errors by Kieran Trippier. Horrendous errors. But I'm putting that aside right now. He was not at it yesterday. He was not at it at all. He was so passive on the ball. And the reason why I get frustrated with that is because Kieran Trippier is our standard bearer. He's our guy. He's the guy that we rely on. He's the guy that sets the tone for the way in which we play. But yesterday, getting the ball, passing it to the side to the centre back, passing it inside, wanting the ball back to the goalkeeper. Yeah. Where's the progressive pass? Where's the ball forward into the channels for Almiron to run into? Where's that fizz ball into Isak's feet? Yeah, they've got to want it, of course. That I'll take that point. But where's that? Where's the supreme creator that we have? And people are saying he's tired. For me, he's had 5 days rest. That's longer than he's had in a lot of other previous weeks. And I just think that is the standard bearer there, not performing. And that will filter out to the other players. There is no doubt about it, because they look up to him. So then you've got Bruno. And Bruno wasn't bad, but again, he was very passive. Ball side to side, backwards, trying to keep possession. And that was our downfall, because all we did is just try and keep possession. That then filtered down to Fabian Schär. Fabian Schär barely played a forward pass. That's his game. He likes to drive forward and play forward passes into tight spaces. He couldn't do it. He never did it. He just played the simple ball. So you've got our 3 creative players there that were passive. And that then filters out to the rest of the team. So then you get Anthony Gordon being passive. Anthony Gordon didn't show up yesterday.
No.
He got starstruck by the occasion. He was the main guy. He was the main guy that was being talked about. He was the one that the whole focus was on, and he flopped. He flopped on that occasion. Now, I'm not going to hammer him for that. You've had Wayne Rooney that's gone there and done exactly the same in the past, and the other players at other clubs that have gone to their old team with everything on them and just not turned up. So I'm not going to hold him to that. But where you see Anthony Gordon get the ball and drive at his fullback, get Seamus Coleman, the guy can barely move. And you'd think he would have been attacking him and running at him, and he didn't. He played the safe game, but we didn't need the safe game. We needed the all action Anthony Gordon, where he drives people into the ground. Trent Alexander-Arnold, people like Reece James, top right backs in this country. He's teared apart this season, and he didn't, because he let the occasion get the better of him. And I hope he learns from that, and I'm sure he will. I'm sure we'll go back to Everton next year and absolutely tear them apart if they're in this league. But we needed him. We needed him to have that game yesterday, and he didn't. And that's what I'm really disappointed about. Who else?
What do you think of Tino?
Tino was Tino. Tino played well. Not as good as he was in other games. But he did well. He tried to do what he tried to do. He tried to get on the ball, move forward. That's all I can really say about him. Alexander Isak. You know what I'm going to say about this? I know we're kind of short on time, but I'm going to say that Callum Wilson made a point on his podcast a few weeks ago, and he said that Callum Wilson is a product of Alexander Isak and vice versa. And he is absolutely right. Those guys cannot play without each other. They need each other, because it was the same with Callum Wilson with when Isak was injured. Those guys do not play at 100 mile an hour, full intensity, full work rate when they haven't got the other on the bench. And the reason being is because they can't do it for 90 minutes. Alexander Isak barely made a press, and it told in the second half, because they put Anthony Gordon up top, because he was pressing and winning the ball and getting a few things back. Isak doesn't do the press. Why? I think there's a worry there that he's going to get injured. I think there's a worry that with Eddie Howe that he's going to get injured, and we need Callum Wilson back. Alexander Isak needs to know, and Callum Wilson needs to know, that they can go full throttle for 60 minutes and then come off. And know that they've given everything for 60 minutes, and then they get their rest time. And then the other comes on and does exactly the same. They need each other. But we don't need that as a club. We can't keep doing that. Which is why, for me, and this falls into another discussion, I actually do think we need a third striker for that reason. To take it away from both of them and go, you know what? You guys need each other. You keep getting injured. One keeps dropping out. Let's bring a third in. Let's bring
have a threesome. There you go. Battle it out.
You guys are going to need to stay fit and get in the team to prove yourself. You are going to have to play your 100% maximum to get in this team. Because you know what? If you're not, we've got another goal scorer there. And they need a kick up the backside. No, not Mitro, Kev. We're beyond.
Do you know what someone said to me at the game yesterday, Pete? A young lad I was sat next to. I didn't catch his name, but he said to me yesterday, he went, "Imagine if we had a Bellamy now. Imagine we had a Craig Bellamy. Craig Bellamy in this team would be ridiculous."
You know what? I was thinking, Thiru Guirassy, 17.5 million, just scored his 19th goal of the season against Dortmund in midweek. Go get him. Go get him. You might only need him for a year and a half. Go get him. Cheap as chips.
Release scores.
Goal scorer, plays up top, focal point, left foot, right foot, knows where the goal is, confident, which is what we need. His confidence is sky high right now, putting goals in for fun, get him for the back end of the season, whether he goes to the African Cup of Nations or not, go get him. And for the back end of the season, you know you've got 3 strikers. And just go with it. And I just think from that point of view, we really need it. And the one player I'll give a lot of credit to, a couple really. I thought Joe Linton was our best player. I thought he tried to make things happen. When there was an attack, he was in there, trying to get in there, joining the strikers. He was battling. He was winning the balls back. He was getting possession back. The one thing that I criticised him for, he was really good with in his use of the ball, keeping the ball ticking, moving it forward, trying to make things happen. I thought he was our best player. I really did. I thought he played really well. He had a brilliant game against Man United, and I thought he backed this up with another performance. I thought the others weren't at the others in our midfield, Miley and Bruno Guimaraes. I don't think they were terrible, but they weren't at his level, in my opinion. I thought Jamal Lascelles did well for the most part in keeping Dominic Calvert-Lewin quiet. I said to you, Chris, on away days, I thought that battle there between those two would be crucial. The only time that Lascelles lost Dominic Calvert-Lewin is when he missed from 2 yards in the first half. That's the only time. Every other time after that, Calvert-Lewin wasn't in the game because he was going up against Lascelles, and Lascelles big, physical, winning the ball in the air, not letting him get the easy battle. Normally that's Botman that does that job. But Lascelles did that job, and fair play to him for doing that. Boys, we need a new keeper. We need a new keeper. I'm sorry. I'm going to die on that hill. We need a new keeper. Go back and watch that goal. Martin Dubravka, yes, please. Martin Dubravka was already half down on his knees before that ball's even got past him. That ball ends up middle of the goal. I'm sorry, Nick Pope.
It wasn't very high, was it? It wasn't very high.
It wasn't a great shot. Nick Pope either parries that out or catches it. It was awful goalkeeping. The third goal.
He's not great in corners either. Dubravka.
Better with his feet. He's better with his feet than Pope. We know that. But that's just one element, distribution. He doesn't command his box. He's flappy. He does this. He even does it when the ball comes in. You see him doing this, like he doesn't know what to do. Whereas Pope's out and he commands and he comes and collects and he's big and strong. We need that as a goalkeeper. We need a goalkeeper that's a good shot stopper. Dubravka used to be a good shot stopper, but what is he, 35 now? Like he's ticking on. For me, I just think we need a goalkeeper. We need to bridge the gap between Pope and Dubravka, because Pope is so far ahead of Dubravka. There is a huge gap there. And we need someone that's either at Pope's level and we go and buy our first choice and buy someone better, or we bring someone in that bridges the gap that's closer to Pope than Dubravka is. Because for me, I'm sorry, we cannot go through the rest of the season with Dubravka. We are going to concede so many goals. You go back to the West Ham game, some of the big, strong saves that Pope's made to get us a point there and to keep us in certain games earlier on this season. Dubravka concedes those, and our outlook looks completely different. And that's what I worry about that will happen if this continues. Gary's just said Karius. For me, Harris is probably the rung down from Dubravka, in my opinion. So I wouldn't consider that either. We've got 3 other goalkeepers other than Pope, and for me, I don't think any of them's good enough. And that's the issue.
I'd agree with what you're saying there in the keeper, Pete. I think it's the keeper and a striker we need now. I was talking about a striker and a right side of centre, the top of my list there. Just going back to maybe slightly differences between what myself and Chris was saying and what you're saying. You kind of gone a bit harder. That's fair enough. We were kind of more putting it down towards fatigue, but I do get what you're saying. The intensity, the mentality, what wasn't there, and you linking it back to the Bournemouth game as well. But lads, let's forget about it. It's done. It's over. We can now move on.
It is,
and we'll move on. We shall and move
on.
Like
as we've mentioned. There, Pete.
Flappy sin. I'm going to call it on that one.
Bring the gloves. Bring the gloves. Call down. Right. This is, as we said, away days is coming up. We're currently at 15%. We are recharging and going and into away days at 9 p.m. So in 8 minutes' time, away days will be on your screen. As we said already as well, we have a reaction show on Sunday evening, 8:30. We have away days again on a Monday evening at 9 o'clock with the Milan Weekly Podcast. And on Wednesday, we're back with our final destination watch along, all catching everything that's happening on the last night in the group of death, and where we finish up. Our fate is yet to be sealed. But that is it from our Everton reaction show. Thanks everyone for watching. Make sure you smash that like button as well. Thanks, Chris. And as I said, get on to away days coming onto your screen in 7 minutes. So on to the next one. How you like